Hi everyone, so I have decided to finally film a video on I suppose our miscarriage story. Yeah, I don't really know what to call it. I guess I'm gonna call it a miscarriage. So basically, back in January, my husband and I, who was just my fiance back then, decided to try again for another baby. Our son was probably only, so August, September, October, November, December, January. He was only like 6 months old. But we decided, we wanna have our kids in close concession or whatever you want to call it, and we're gonna do it. So I was ovulating like 2 weeks later. We fell pregnant immediately, and on 14th of February, I found out that we were pregnant, and I was so ecstatic and went out and bought a digital pregnancy test so that we could do that together, but also like a Valentine's Day card, and wrapped it all up and stuff and gave that to him when he got home. His face was a picture. He absolutely shit himself. He was like, what? There's some choice words coming out of his mouth. He didn't realise at all that we could fall pregnant that quick, and it was a complete surprise. It completely shocked him. Fast forward a couple of, February, March, April. So like the very back end of March, beginning of April, bearing in mind we were going to get married on the 16th of April, so just bear that in mind. We had our first scans booked in, etc. And my cycles are not 28 days long. My cycles are, well, at that time were like 30, I don't even know. They were 41 when I fell pregnant with Arlo. So they were, I don't know, 31 or something like that, 35. But they were longer than the average. So basically, when we went to our first scan, we thought we were 11 plus 5 days pregnant. Turns out we were apparently only 10 plus 2. So like 9 days less pregnant than what we thought. And that's when it basically just all went to shit. I can't give you exact dates, I forget. But I do know that the second scan that we had, which was a week later, was the 5th of April, I think. And basically we went in because the first scan we went to, we were supposed to have the screenings to basically see if everything was alright with the baby, or if there was potential like Down syndrome or anything like that. And basically they said, oh, baby's too small, first one, baby's too small to do the screenings, we'll have to reschedule you for like next week. So I was like, right, that's fine. So we came back a week later, and it was a different sonographer, and it was almost like immediately the atmosphere was, there was something odd. I was lying on the bed, she was to my right, Arlo and Charlie were to my left, and there was another monitor there. It's a very small hospital, so it's just one room where they do the sonographs. And basically I could tell, because we had so many scans with Arlo, I could tell that there was something not right. Like immediately I was just like, that doesn't look good, that doesn't look right. Not it doesn't look good, it just didn't look right. That was my gut instinct. And and she was really quiet, but I thought she was quite a quiet like character anyway, but she was really quiet, and she was like doing her job and that, and then she just turned to us and said just things that you just never in a million years think you're gonna hear. She just turned to us and said, I'm really sorry, but there's a problem with your baby. And I've written this all down, so I've got this in front of me on the screen here, so I'm just gonna like read this here a little bit. But so yeah, the baby had a nuchal translucency result of 7.5 mils, which is the fluid that they measure on the back of the baby's neck. That at that point is classed as a cystic hygroma, I think. For an 11-week-old baby, they say about 1 to 2 mil is normal. Anything over 3.5, even if you opt out of the screening test, they have to tell you that there is a problem with your baby. And our baby's was severe, very, very severe. She took us into a room, private room, and basically gave us some information while she went off to try and call the I suppose the specialist unit, the fetal medicine unit in the RVI, which is the big hospital in Newcastle city centre. And we just thought, oh my god, like this baby is severely Down syndrome or something like that. We weren't aware really of anything other than Down syndrome. She said it could be chromosomal, which is obviously Downs and all that sort of stuff, or it could be a heart defect. But she said basically, you know, expect to miscarry this baby soon. She said she gave us the number for the ward closest to us, which was at the Durham University Hospital, and she basically said, don't go to A&E, go straight to the like the maternity ward. They will be expecting you. They know about you. And that just fucking blew my mind, because I was like, what, like, you just told us there's something wrong, but now you're already telling us we're going to lose the baby and stuff like that. It was just, I at this point we just didn't know what to think. We just didn't know what to do. So you know, we got booked in 5 days later, and you know, we tried to finish off the last minute things for the wedding in the meantime. So that, you know, that it just was fucking awful. It really was just horrendous. So they said that basically the heart could be operated on. Downs, Edwards and Patau's syndrome, well, Downs is livable. You know, people can live with Downs and live a very full and fulfilling life, and we agreed that if it wasn't severe, we would keep a Downs baby. But this, they were basically like, your baby's not going to make it. Even if it is Downs, it's not going to make it. Edwards and Patau's are fatal, either during, like, in utero or after birth. So yeah, it was just, you know, it wasn't a good outcome either way you looked. So so from what I can remember, just so I'm not trying to like get myself all like mixed up, we waited 5 days. We went in on the Tuesday. This was the Tuesday the week of the wedding. We were getting married on the Sunday, and this was the Tuesday of the wedding. And we spoke to a consultant and a specialist midwife who, I don't know if she was new or, you know, new to that unit or what, but she was so, she cried. Like, by the end of the day, because we were there hours and hours and hours, by the end of the day, it got to her so much that she got upset. And we talked about everything. We talked about having the tests done, where they basically it's called a CVS test, where they place a long needle into your womb, into your placenta, and take tissue from the placenta, and then do the tests to find out what's wrong. It's an invasive test. It could result in a miscarriage, but at that point our chances of a miscarriage were so high anyway that it basically didn't even matter. We were guaranteed that as a result of the procedure we wouldn't miscarry until at least 1 or 2 weeks later, so we wouldn't miscarry at the wedding, which was our main concern. I didn't want to miscarry the night before or the day of the wedding. So we had a final scan before the CVS test, and basically what happened was we went in to see if my placenta was in a good enough place that they could actually reach it, and to see how full my bladder was, which it was filling up at an exponential rate, which it always does. My bladder's like that big. And she was like, yeah, we've got to move fast if we're going to do this. But then she basically said that, I'm really sorry, but there's fluid on the baby's body. Your baby's got something called fetal hydrops. And we were just like, what? Now, fetal hydrops is fluid on and around the organs of your baby's body. It's not an exact illness or anything, but it's a result of something. So they said it could be a result of the obviously the whatever's wrong with the baby. So she said at this point a lot of parents choose to just end the pregnancy regardless, because, you know, I'm giving you baby a 1 to 2% chance of living. And at that point we were like, fuck, right, okay, like, there is no point in us having this invasive test done if the baby's going to die anyway. And we went back into the counselling room and we sat there and we talked for ages and ages and ages, and the consultant came back and I'd gone full circle and back again and then halfway around again, and I was just like, no, I need to know what's wrong with this baby. I need to know what is so wrong that this baby's going to die. Like, why is she, we know it's a girl now, but why is she so poorly? Why is she sick? So we went in, we had the CVS test, they got enough fluid and tissue to do the testing, and basically it was Easter weekend coming up, so we got the test done on the Tuesday. The labs were closing for the Friday, and we would get married on the Sunday, so we needed those results back by the Thursday, so that we knew if, you know, like, just knew how I could, I don't know, I needed to know how I could contain myself, how I could get on with the wedding and enjoy the wedding without, you know, this what is wrong with the baby. Like, I didn't want that hanging over our heads. And by some miracle they got back to us on the Thursday, and the consultant rang us, and she said, are you sitting down? You know, and I was like, no, I'm driving in the car. I was like, tell me. She's like, no, go home, like, call me back when your husband, I'll, you know, give me a time. I gave her a time to call back, and she's like, I'll call you when you're sitting down, you're at home, you're with your husband, etc., your fiance. I was like, right, okay, no worries. And she came back to us about, I don't know, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock that afternoon, I think. And she basically said, I'm really sorry, but it is a girl, and that means that she's got Turner syndrome. And we were like, what the fuck is Turner syndrome? Like, I feel like this needs to be talked about so much more, because we didn't have a clue what Turner's was. I'd never heard of it before this, like, you know, this incident of having an ill baby. And that was the one thing we didn't want to know. We didn't want to know what it was. We didn't want to know if it was a boy or a girl, because it just made it all that more real and all that more sad. But it was a girl, and she had very, very severe Turner syndrome. I will do a video on what Turner's is, but just to make this not so extremely very, very, very long, I'm gonna, you know, leave that part out. But please do some research if you are needing to know. But it affects girls, and it means that they're missing an X chromosome, and it has so many implications, and had like health hazards and all this sort of stuff. That and the fetal hydrops meant that she wasn't going to survive. So now we had to make the decision as to what we wanted to do. We made an appointment for the following Tuesday, so this is 2 days after we got married. Now, the night before the wedding, I struggled so much. I don't even know how I made it through that night. Like, I just said to my best friend, we stayed in the hotel of where we got married, and I said to my best friend, she stayed with me, my chief bridesmaid, and I was like, how can I do this? How can I put on a happy face tomorrow and walk out there in front of friends and family I haven't seen for so long and get married to the man of my dreams, like the guy that just has been my absolute rock for the last 4 years? And how am I supposed to do that happily, knowing that today was the day we were supposed to announce that we were pregnant to everybody at the wedding? Like, that's what we were supposed to do, and instead we've got to keep this secret, this awful secret that only a few people there knew. But somehow, I don't know how, maybe it was her last little bit of strength that she just somehow imparted onto me and him, and we got through the day, and it was an awesome day. And it was just a magical day, as everybody will always say about their wedding, but you know, it was just so hard. And then the day after the wedding, we just got home and we just chilled, and Arlo was exhausted, bless him. And we were exhausted, and it was the Tuesday we went in, and we were at the hospital for hours and hours and hours because we didn't know what to do. We knew what we had to do, but we still had to talk for a long time and discuss what we wanted to do. And then we made the decision that it was for our benefit and the baby's benefit that we end the pregnancy. And when she came back and said, we can start the process today, and then you come back on Thursday and continue and finish the process, then that my heart was just in my throat, and I couldn't even, oh God. And when she came back with that pill, it's basically how they start off, I guess, how they induce a pregnancy, where you can take a pill and then the part where they soften your cervix with medication, that part is to do with, you know, inducing pregnancies and stuff. But with an abortion, you take a pill first, if you don't want to just be put to sleep and have them take the baby out, and basically that pill stops the hormones and stuff flowing to the uterus properly, so that the uterus basically thinks it's not pregnant anymore, and then the pregnancy comes away. So she came in with that pill, and she left us to be by ourselves, to take it by ourselves, and that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I don't even know how I swallowed that pill. I don't know how I swallowed that pill, and the next day I was horrific. It was so bad. I had so many feelings of anger and guilt and just horror what I'd done, horror, like, how have I been able to kill this child? But I didn't want to get to 30 weeks pregnant and have to explain to people that, yes, I'm pregnant, but we're just waiting for the baby to die of its own accord. Like, that's just a horrific thing to have to say. And, oh God, I don't know how I did it. And I don't know how we got through that Wednesday, but we did. And the Thursday morning we went into hospital, and Arlo's grandmothers, our mothers, were busy looking after him. They were taking turns, and oh God, we went in for 8 o'clock the next morning, on the Thursday morning, and it was a case of basically sticking a whole bunch of pills up your hoo-ha, and within 15 minutes I was feeling strong contractions, like really strong contractions. And so that was 9:20 a.m. that I got given that medication, and then 9:35 a.m. it started, and by 7:25 I gave birth to her. They say they call it passing the baby. I call it giving birth because it's exactly what it is. And that night Charlie went back home, and I stayed in hospital because I still hadn't delivered the placenta, because the placenta had become detached from the baby's umbilical cord. And yeah, it didn't come for another 2 days. It didn't come at all. I ended up in surgery at 10 a.m, 11 a.m, something like that, 10 a.m. on the Saturday morning. So, you know, like almost a week after we got married, I'm still in hospital, and I had to have surgery to have the rest of it removed. In that time, being in hospital all those days, it really helped me heal. I was able to spend some time with her and take some pictures of her, just for me, just to keep. Charlie didn't really want to see, but I could see her tiny little lips and her nose, and her teeny tiny hands, and her feet and little ears, and she had like a pouty top lip, and she had fingernails. Like, she's 14 weeks old and she had fingernails. Oh, it's just insane. And the day that we left the hospital, I asked one of the midwives, nurses, I don't know what she was, to help and basically take a little print of her hands and her feet, and yeah, that was pretty awesome. She was tiny, so small. Like, one of her hands, was the size of like my heart tattoos, and we have those now. We have them like a little memory box kind of thing for her. And we took her home, and I didn't know what to do with her. Like, it was in a plastic specimen jar, like a tub, really. So I put her in the freezer in the outside in the garage. I didn't know where to put her. I didn't really want to put her in the fridge. It just felt wrong, but it felt wrong having her in the garage as well. Like, so a couple of weeks later, or a week later, we arranged her funeral. And when the funeral director came and got her, it was a sense of relief to have her not in the house anymore, I suppose, because I didn't feel like that was right. And we had her cremated, and it was just very small, and I mean very quick service as well. Played Valentine's Day by James Taylor, and we walked in with her, put her on the thing, and went and sat down and just listened to the song playing, and then the curtains closed and took her away. And a couple of weeks later we picked up her ashes, and it was such a bizarre day. Like, I just remember it was just a beautiful day, and I don't know, I said to Arlo, I said, right, let's just go and pick up your sister, and we did. That's what we did. And she's at home now, downstairs in the kitchen. I think we're going to scatter our ashes on her due date, which is the 20th of October, which is 20th of this month, so it's 20 days time. God, it's just, And then, do you know what it is? When we shared this initially on my Facebook, there were so many people that were in the same situation, or had been in the same situation, and if this story can help at least one couple to know that it will be alright, even though you think you'll never ever recover, it will be alright. And if it makes people aware of this Turner syndrome, and that it is a thing, and that, you know, Downs is not the only thing you should be worried about, you know, or informed about, rather, because worrying won't help. But yeah, I would be grateful if this video helps anybody. But anyway, I think that's me done now. Emotionally spent. I thank you all for watching and listening, and we hope to be having our rainbow baby soon. We're planning to get pregnant again soon, so, you know, watch this space. I'm going to do some trying to conceive videos, and what I do to fall pregnant so quickly, what apps I use, etc. So look for those videos if that's you as well. And here's fingers crossed to the rainbow babies. You're not alone.